fancy intro. I have our fancy intro. I don't use it anymore because it says, claim your power hour with Debbie and David. Well, you're not always on with me anymore, so I don't use it anymore. And I thought about using it, and then we got to chatting. It was too late.
Yeah.
We're already a minute late coming on. So, those kooky spiritual people. We can't be constrained by linear time.
What is that? What is linear time?
We can't be expected to show up on schedule.
For goodness sake. Oh my gosh, no. Okay, where are we live at today?
We are live on Facebook on your group, Spirituality Gone Wild.
Nice.
Still love the name. The Stream of David page, the Taya Practice group, my group, and the Stream of David YouTube channel. So we're live on YouTube and Facebook in 3 different places.
I'm excited. Okay, so I'm going to share this out really quick. Oops, I don't want feedback there. So David, I got to tell you, it's beautiful to be here with you again. I'm still trying to share it out. We got to see each other recently, and that was I'm going to try and share it out in a second. We got to see each other recently, which was a highlight of my existence as of late. Hi, Julie. What's up?
We had dinner in Palm Desert.
We sure did.
We had really good Mexican food together in Palm Desert, and it was fun. As always.
It was a freaking, you know what? Can I tell you guys how good it was to hug David in person? It was really good, David. It was great. And Michael. And it was just like,
he just adores you. He every time we see you, he just goes on and on and on talking about Debbie. He just loves Debbie.
I love him. You guys have no idea how incredible Michael is. He is this gentle, sweet soul that, it's just incredible, David. And, he was like sitting there and I caught this like profile shot of him that was so good.
Yeah. Your photography is really good. You're one of those people, you just pick up a camera and you just know when to snap and angle and all that stuff. What was that? There was a sign though. There was 3 of us I think Joe took a picture of us. And what did it say over our head? We didn't even realize it was like vintage.
Vintage.
All these people in their 50s and it said vintage over our head. I'm like, well,
right. I'm like, oh God, that was hilarious. We are
damn right we're vintage.
We're worth more now, baby.
Dial-up phones, avocado green refrigerator vintage for sure.
Yeah, and like we're worth a lot of money now. So y'all best remember that because we're vintage. Look at that. Hey Cheryl. Hey Leslie.
Good to see everybody on. I see familiar names, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Obviously, Debbie and I always have a lot of fun. And those of you that may be watching this for the first time, we've been doing Claim Your Power Hour for years. We used to do it on Facebook Live, and then last year I sort of took the year off and just did stuff on Patreon for our Patreon community. Debbie stuck around and stuck it out with me over on Patreon, even though it wasn't going to any of her groups or anything. She showed up for me just in service of our Patreon community, which I deeply appreciate. And then I decided to come back from my break from social media and get back into it because, just doing things. I love my Patreon community, and we've definitely created more of a learning community over on Patreon. But if you're wanting to share something with the world and share yourself and your knowledge, and you're only preaching to the choir, well, then you're not really spreading the gospel. You're not spreading the message. And the great thing about social media is that we have this technology that allows us to reach everyone.
Yeah.
On TikTok, good Lord, I just think about all the people that I've interacted with just from being on TikTok, and people that are, getting into the streams teachings and the Taya practice just from all of these different places where we're kind of getting back into again. It's fun. I missed it.
Seriously, right? Oh, I'm telling you. Well, I've actually been on a hiatus for a while now. So it is fun. I've been feeling the pull, to get back on and really share about some of the stuff and some of the experiences that I've been through and to talk about what's on the other side of that. I had a very, very intense illness and surgery, and I'm on the other side of that now, and it's amazing to be where we're at. But it's so funny because I think a lot of us were in a lull. Anybody out there feeling like you've been in a low, kind of like a lull, not a low, a lull? Anybody?
Yeah, I had that experience last year. So type in if you have felt a little bit about that. We call that a spin out in the Taya practice. It's a newer Taya term, but we call it sort of a spin out where you kind of create this sort of complacent space, or even a negative manifestation, like you're manifesting an unwanted path. I'm sure that your surgery and all the things that you went through weren't something that you were looking to manifest, but you did nonetheless. And we understand that we do these things to level ourselves up. But when you're in it, sometimes when you're in it, you're in that vibration of it. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's kind of hard to see your way out of it unless you have gone through a lot of cycles of spin out and reemerging, more sophisticated than ever as a result of that. But really, that's what life is. We don't solve that. I don't know of a spiritual practice or a religion or any amount of money that solves that cycle of people spinning out. I mean, you look at if you follow the news at all, if you look at Elon Musk, for example, this guy celebrated, was considered the richest man in the world at one time, and everyone was loving his companies and SpaceX and all that. Then he goes and buys Twitter and creates this big spin out for himself, where suddenly he's getting all this negative backlash, and his personal wealth is plummeting, and all of these things are going on.
Yeah.
But I look at that and realize that's just part of that's the process of creation. That's part of the human journey, and it's absolutely the universal process of creation to have this sort of ebb and flow. If you look at our Taya logo that we've created, that little swoosh, which I realized reminds me of the Obama campaign in 2008 once we created it. I thought I was being original, but not so much. But I love it, so I'm keeping it. But it really was meant to be that, signify that up and down vibrational flow that we're all operating in. And Taya is not about curing that. Taya is about moving through that journey in a very different way, different than the Matrix teaches us. So Debbie's got some topics we're going to cover today that are very Matrix driven. I love Matrix topics.
Well, I want to talk about accountability versus blame. I really want to discuss that. And I also want to address, there's some other people who have been feeling that lull. And sometimes when we get in that lull, it's because either we're resistant, in my world only, I'm not sure what's going on with everyone else, but it's the resistance to change, which changes in ebb and flow, changes are one consistent in life. But something else came up for me, and that was, it was time for my healing. I've been healing. I've been on a lull because my body has been coming out of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. I think I do all of them depending on what's called for at the time. My nervous system autonomically, my autonomic nervous system responding parasympathetically to all this crap happening. And all of a sudden I'm hearing, and I think the lull is the letdown of our nervous system relaxing into calm space and peacefulness. And is it possible, anyone? And David, I want to know what you think about this. Is it possible that the lull is just simply is, and that we judge it because we're not comfortable being at peace and gentle and being okay and not being fight, flight, that drama, that the spin out that you're talking about. And to me, the lull has been the healing, but there's got to be something wrong if it's not chaotic. And that's when I cause shit. So it's being stuff. So, but what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think obviously operating in vibrational flow, we are going to be up and we're going to be down. If you think about it, if we're up our spiral, up in high source connected vibration all the time, then that just becomes our new low, really, because we're not static, right? We're vibrational beings. The universe is a vibrational universe. The planets are not sitting still. Everything is moving and evolving and changing. And really, if you look at it without judgment, you realize that everything is really upgrading all the time. Yeah. Everything, if you look at the planet, if you take all humanity and really, just take humanity off the planet altogether, and you look at how the Earth environment operates without our intelligence present, or lack thereof present sometimes, and you see that whatever we create as human beings, if we take our attention away from it, in time, the Earth environment is going to swallow it up and sort of grow back over it, right? Vegetation will come back, new growth will return over it, more lush, stronger than ever. I was telling a story the other day about, I have this fig tree, and when we were in the house before it burned down, we have this really tall ceiling in our living room, and we have this fig tree that grew really super tall in there, and it grew so tall it was starting to lean over. And I didn't
Mm.
want to have like these stakes and sticks and strings and all this stuff on this big fig tree. Well, I started researching fig trees and discovered that one of the things they recommend is to take your fig tree and let it live outside for a while if the weather will allow it, because the wind blowing will make your tree naturally stronger. Because that's really what the tree was designed to do, was to blow in the wind, be made stronger, and grow in a more natural environment. Well, I've taken it inside and put it in a pot, and now I've done all the things to make it healthy, but it's so healthy that it's falling over.
Oh,
So if you think about it, that wind, rain, storm experience is created to make us stronger beings, to come and do some clearing out of the physical beings that are no longer in alignment with the environment, which is fine, because the physical beings that are no longer in alignment simply dissolve into feeding the earth itself. They're still part of the earth environment. And the energetic signature that powers that is eternal anyway. So it doesn't matter. But we've been taught to judge all that stuff as, oh my gosh, you can't have a storm in your life. That's terrible. It's awful. You should never be experiencing that. We're not honoring the things that we create. Vibrational flow keeps us out of complacency. Vibrational flow ensures that if we get blissed out, and I was blissed out last year, I had manifested all of the things that we're supposed to want, right? I found myself once again living in a beautiful home with not having to answer to anyone, not having to want for anything, just kind of living a joyous day after day after day after day. And it was nice for a little while, because I've spent my entire adult life, even my teenage life, working and grinding. Well, I know how to not do that anymore. And so I created this scenario for myself that got boring. It got complacent. I was so blissed out that I got bored with it. And I became complacent, and it started showing up in my health and in our family situation and within the house. And then ultimately it created a combustible event in our home, actually burning and displacing us from it, and lots of other things going on, at the same time. But I see now, and Michael and I both see, how that has leveled us up. We are more sophisticated, happier versions of ourselves because we created the storm, we created the spin out. So the lull is something that you create, and you're welcome to do so. Don't fight it. Enjoy the lull, but understand that you're always going to be manifesting something, either a ride up your spiral or maybe a ride down, something that is wanted, something that is not. But boredom and complacency generally are going to lead to some sort of disruptive event that's going to move you in some direction.
Absolutely, 100%. I can't even add to that. That was so good. How's everybody resonating with that? I'd like to know how are you resonating with the idea that you're creating everything, and the idea that it might be due to you're bored in the house. You're bored in the house. You're bored in that house. There's like a song, something like that. But that brings me to,
I think it's something else, but I won't repeat it. No. So
anyway,
I'll tell you off air. So because when you started to say it, I'm like, it sounds like a song I remember. So
yeah, I thought it was, but I thought it was
accountability versus the blame game. Well, one thing, when I used to do lives on Instagram, I haven't done a live on Instagram for a while, but I used to go on to this Instagram page that had hundreds of thousands of followers, and the person that ran the page would interview me weekly. So all these new people were listening to me and hearing the stream's teachings for the first time. And of course, whenever they jumped on, they kind of latched on to whatever was being said in the moment, and they would comment. Well, a lot of the comments, were early on were sort of, oh, you're blaming the victims. You're saying that we create our own reality. You're blaming victims. And what they didn't realize, that in my world, there's no room for blame for anything. Nothing is anybody's fault. Nothing is ever about blame, as far as I'm concerned, in my belief system, because I do believe that we're all manifesting our reality. And yes, I do believe that we all manifest the unwanted things in our lives from birth or even prior to that. And from a higher perspective, those manifestations absolutely serve our expansion. From the matrix perspective, the matrix is about fault and blame. Well, how can you say that? A child wouldn't manifest being, stillborn or sick or something along those natures, or being abused. That's right. Insane. You're blaming the victim. Well, no, you take blame out of it. And the manifestation is about an energetic signature where the universe is just delivering what you're putting out. And a fetus and even a young child have a soul. There is a vibration that's present. And that soul is eternal, and that soul is seeking expansion in the earth environment, not just let's come and always be in joy and peace and get everything that we want. It sounds lovely. I get it. But the problem with that is, and a lot of spiritual teachings sort of go there. Everything's about love and light, and we're giving birth to this new Mother Earth that's just going to be perfect, and we're all going to just agree about everything all the time. And I understand how lovely that sounds, especially when you're suffering in the matrix. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
absolutely lovely. The flaw there, though, if you think about what it would take for humanity to live in true harmony, would mean that we would all have to be the same vibration. We would all
Mm-hmm.
have to be willing to surrender our own beliefs and thoughts to one singular belief system and all agreeing to that all the time.
Wouldn't we be dead?
Yeah,
Just
well,
saying.
vibrational flow ensures that that will never happen. But if we ever reach the level of sophistication where we all got so sophisticated that we were all in this Taya space of appreciation of all that is, and no blaming anything, and never having a negative experience when you're in a low vibration period, then yeah, the earth environment would cease to be. Humanity would cease to be, because the whole purpose of the physical environment is to come and experience that positive negative mix, because the negative stuff expands us just as much, if not more, than the positive stuff is not. It's like a lovely reward. When you get to experience the best of earth, and there is beautiful beauty to experience on earth all around us, that's
Yeah.
like a lovely little reward. But going out to a lovely dinner, seeing a beautiful sight, laying by the pool and relaxing all day and just being blissed out. Think about how does that expand you as an eternal strand of consciousness? How are you becoming a more sophisticated, expanded version of yourself? Maybe you are, but I find that the drudgery, the negative stuff, getting down in the muck, has created far more expansion for me in my lifetime, far more sophistication. I can look at things now in a way that a whole lot of humanity is not viewing, not because I'm special or gifted or anything like that, simply because I have gone into this thought process, and
Yeah.
I've done the work to detune the matrix that teaches us that that stuff is bad and shouldn't be, and that therefore we have to suffer in it.
That feels very much in alignment. It's true. In my world, this is true what you're saying, David. And because there's this part of you and part of me, and I think a lot of you will resonate with this, that you really start understanding that there's only really one way to live your life, and deep appreciation for what is, and acceptance. This is what I was talking about earlier today. There doesn't seem to be anything else to do but to appreciate and be accepting that life is just where it should be, just how it should be. Period. No matter how much we want to fight it or whatever. But one of the things that came up earlier was like blame versus accountability. Oh yeah, I'm to blame for this and that and this, and it's such a victim mentality to take blame and say, I'm to blame for everything. I already know that I'm to blame. That's not accountability. Accountability
Yeah,
is
that's
not
it's
going.
really just, you're just judging yourself, and that's,
Well, yeah, and it doesn't
yeah,
go anywhere.
yeah.
Accountability is the room for human error. Accountability is saying, yeah, I did that. And yeah, I did that. I love myself anyway. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person, but it's okay that I did whatever the thing might be, no matter what. And it's just such a trip how we do judge ourselves in this blame game, but really it's a victim mentality, period. Now, that might be judging that too, but really it comes down to if
Well,
you're
it's nice
not.
to recognize it, and if other people are in a space to be ready to accept and recognize that, it's a powerful step forward, and you're managing your life in a very different way.
I'm going to guess that whoever says so you think shit makes the best fertilizer has got to be John Fiore. And if it's not, whoever you are, I love you, because pretty much, yeah, listen, I'm out here on the farm and the ranch, and yeah, it really actually does. If you can believe that bunch of stuff we have a leach field out there. That's where it all leaches to, But David, I mean, it's true. It's amazing that when you want to look at that, the things that that really need to come up and out right now. Toxicity or toxic behavior patterns can be altered and changed if you so choose to make the decision to do it. That's what I know. What I know today is only this, that there's a better way to do this thing. And this is why that whoever is here watching right now and on the replay, I want you to really let that sink in, because that's what David's bringing through this show right here and myself, is that there's another way to do things, period. I get into, David, you wanted to talk about change. And I'm going to be honest with you all. I love my house in Colorado. Oops, a daisy. I love my house in Colorado. I really do, but it was a really cold winter. Oh, like painful. Talking, I've never experienced, I am Southern California through and through. Never have I experienced a cold winter like this. I had the hardest time because I thought I was just going to die.
But now that you've had the experience, you now understand
why people don't move here. Sorry.
Well, no, you understand. I'm right there with you. I lived in Seattle for 8 years, and it wasn't as cold in Seattle as it gets in Colorado, and that was enough for me. So I totally understand that. But now you have the firsthand experience of living in snow and ice and cold winter nights and all of that stuff. Just like I have I now know what it's like to have my house burned down. I never in a million years would imagine that I would have ever manifested having a home burn. And now I know what that's really like. And it's funny, I was watching some old TV show the other day. It wasn't the other day, it was a few months ago, but it was right after the house burned down. I turned on this old TV show, an episode popped up, and the house had burned down on the episode that I watched. This show was on the air for over a decade. I happened to turn on this episode, but the house burned down. And it was funny because they were like, this part of the house burned, but they were just living in the other part of the house. And I'm thinking, no, that's not what it's like. The fire department pulls your utilities off the house as soon as the fire's out. You have no certificate of occupancy. That's not existing. You have smoke everywhere. You cannot live in that situation. But now I probably have seen that episode of that show before and not thought anything of it. And I thought, wow, how interesting that I know now what that experience is. I know what it's like to call 911 and say, hey, my house is on fire, and go evacuate everyone out of the home, and even have a tragic experience in all that, which I won't get too deep into. But, we had all that happen. Now I know. I've had that experience. I can judge it as bad or wrong or should not be and choose suffering, or I can simply say I've had the experience. And now I have the experience of waiting for the house to be rebuilt.
Yeah,
and the experience of exercising patience and waiting for the house to be rebuilt, because we're doing that. We're having to wait.
I love that.
That's all of life is that. And we can utilize that mindset on any and every topic. And I have spent so many years now teaching this practice to other people that I know that I can teach this to anyone, because I have worked with people who have had the very worst life experiences, move through this, learn this practice, and move through those experiences in a very different way. Even things from the past that they've suffered in for years, I've seen that suffering heal. But the first step is claiming ownership of it. It's not about let's go see whose fault it is. It's simply, this was a co-creation, and I didn't come here just for perfection, and I played a role in the creation of this. I may not know what that is, but when you get that appreciation going for the outcome or just for the experience, that clarity shows up. That clarity of source shows up. It's available. It's in you. It's in you. I promise you, it is in you.
I can vouch for that. I can promise you it's in you too. And I'm glad that you agree completely. Deb, I love you. You guys are rocking it tonight. David, how did you've seen that? How did you, so where's the appreciation is in the experience. And I hope y'all are catching this. My appreciation and my experience is I found out that I love wood burning stoves, and really, they get really warm. And it's beautiful and it's nice, and I have great scenery, and but are there other things that come up? You bet. A house burning down. It's almost like it kind of reminds me, David, of what I went through a few years ago when I lost the last bit of every single thing from my past. Every photo. When I mean lost, I'm talking about swiped, gone, out of my existence. and the burning down of the house. It's like that past stuff, anything that we were holding on to, just it's like we get it. I think sometimes we get it taken away so we can remember it's just stuff, you know? Whenever something like this happens, it like when you told me that about the fire, the first thing that happens, and I know all of you felt this way, it's like, are you okay? We don't give a shit about your house and your stuff. I mean, we do. We don't. I mean, no, we don't actually. But when it comes down to you and Michael and the babies and the puppies, it was like, are you guys okay? Really, I think that these major things happen in life so we can get down to the nitty gritty of what's important because we all forget. We forget the importance of why we're here, and that is to that truth of humanity, that part of ourselves that can connect with love. And you know, the focus of our house here, the ranch here, the focus of your house, and all the stuff that we're doing externally all the time, and we, you know, and all of these things, and we love that because we're manifesto queen and kings. But if we need to take time for each other and we have forgotten to do that, we get to do that now. We get reminders because I'm going to tell you, a fire to me tells me I'd be looking at my mortality. Did you look at your mortality at all? Did you like look at yourself going, "Holy shit, I'm still here and alive"?
I think I went through a little bit of that because I remember sitting thinking that I turned 55 2 months after that, as you know, as you well
Yeah,
know,
me too.
and I do remember sitting one day thinking about I could die today, and I could look back at my life and believe that I really lived life.
Yeah,
I live life. I've done lots of things that if it ends right now, I would be okay because I'm not measuring it against any bucket list. I don't do that.
right.
And I wouldn't sit in regret of the things that I haven't done or seen. I would be completely okay with what I experienced. I believe that I'm an eternal being like everybody. I do believe that we're all eternal souls for sure, and that we have endless physical encounters and experiences. But for this one unique one-off life, and I do think that each life is a unique one-off experience for sure. I feel like I lived it, and if that was the end of it, that would be okay. It wasn't really related to the fire. I think it was just more, turning 55 and
Yeah, it's
going to the
been something.
doctor, and now this is going wrong, and that may be going wrong, and that could go awry, and all this crap they do when you go to the doctor. And I think that's probably what spurred those thoughts. But being completely satisfied with exactly what was, and what was isn't necessarily the commercial version of perfection,
Yeah,
but that's BS anyway.
totally.
Nobody's living that. And some people certainly are living more financial abundance and more fun and joy and travel and things that they want to experience more, and certainly some less. But that's just part of the tapestry of humanity and really how the entire universe operates. Not
Yeah,
every little seed turns into a plant, and not every little plant turns into a tree, and not every tree lives to be a 200-year-old redwood. That's just the way it is, and that's okay, because in the energetic realm, every experience has expansive value. Every experience has expansive value.
I
So
love
if we're
that.
looking at it from that high perspective, then the judgment of our human experience just melts away, because you realize that all of that judgment, that's just the human created matrix speaking to you, that you're supposed to look a certain way and be a certain way and earn a certain way, and what your relationship's supposed to look like, and all of that stuff that is taught to us from day one and every day reinforced. It's quite a feat, those of us that manage to wiggle out of the matrix, even if it's just a little bit. You need to pat yourselves on the back for that, because when you're able to do that even a little bit, that's
Yep,
huge. Because the
big.
matrix, I'm not trying to stir up fear here, but the matrix has a lot of features built into it that are designed to draw you right back into it. It's a brilliant creation, but it's a creation that I believe we are moving beyond the need for.
Right.
And a huge, huge, huge component of the matrix that I think humanity is moving beyond is religion. But it's easy for so many of us to sort of demonize religion because of the things that we hear and see and experience growing up in religious belief systems, and then we want to sort of break free from that stuff and get into something different, or maybe try to have nothing at all for a while, which doesn't work very well, but that's a whole other story. But I honor religion because I think that religion was right for its time, and served humanity and all of that structure that it created that obviously didn't work for everyone, but it created enough structure that it worked for a lot of people and got us to the level of sophistication where we are now. And the funny thing is, to me though, is we're sort of bringing ourselves full circle back to our original operating system of being beings of source.
Yeah.
Meaning just appreciating all that is and having an ego that is more of a discerner of preference, having a fear mechanism that just gets us out of the way of immediate danger. And really that's the original operating system. So we created all of this matrix driven operating system to bring ourselves to a place where we just don't need it anymore.
I think that's true. And I think that every time we get the opportunity to see it as just being, and I love what Lewis is saying, that you can't live without a positive and a negative pole, because it makes it makes a unity, and both of them make us who we are, and the appreciation of this affirmation makes us a whole person. I think that's beautiful, because I think that's true. But that's kind of the thing. It's like, instead of looking and judging, and that's what you've been saying, all of the things happening as being either good or bad, or this shouldn't be happening. Agree. I love that too. A return to innocence, a return to that space. You know, David, I hear some people talking about the fact they think we're just really, really advanced AI.
Well, the stream has said, back when I was trans channeling, they said this quite a bit, that we are creating the technology that creates us. And that's what's happening to humanity right now. That's why we're on this sort of precipice of really breaking out of the matrix, because we're understanding, well, wait a minute, that matrix is essentially AI, and we're products of that, perceiving this physical reality.
Yep.
But innately, we all know that we're something more than that. We're some sort of consciousness that's beyond that. And that's why religion was so successful, because it took that concept of consciousness beyond physical and labeled it, and then created a set of rules and all the commerce that got created around it. And that's why I say I honor that. I think humanity probably needed that at some time, when human beings were still chasing and killing, and well, they're still doing that to each other, but and sort of living in more disorder. That religion and that, oh, God said so message created some structure and created some fear that sort of created this community that allowed humanity to advance, and really is the foundation of modern education and government and all of these things that brought us around to creating the AI, i.e. the technology that creates us. How freaking cool is that?
Actually, it is pretty cool. It's a definite expanded thought, for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you look at even like video games, when I was a kid, because I was kind of stayed deep into my stream, I didn't really dive too deep into the Matrix, because the Matrix wasn't serving me the way it serves most people. I remember watching video games thinking, this is just a reflection of human life, that we go through challenges and we win a prize if we get through the challenge. Sometimes we get killed, but we come right back and do it all over again. Like, isn't it cool that video games are just a reflection of our the universal process of creation? That's all it is. Somebody thought to make it in a video game, made billions of dollars. Yeah. So
it is true.
Yeah.
I mean, for what I can tell, what's interesting is that in religions, there's community, right? And I think that humanity, as a whole, we all need each other. We all do. We all need hugs, and we need each other. We need that companionship as human beings. And I think that religion offered an opportunity for community. Unfortunately, as you know, it also offered the opportunity maybe for some more extreme stuff that might have been more matrixy. But when I look at it, I can appreciate from my experiences with religion that community part of it that made me feel externally accepted, but not. Actually, I've had issues with religion. They used me as an example in the teen camp part.
What not to be?
Yeah.
Good for you. That means you had fun as a teenager. So did I.
No, I wasn't even a teenager. I was 18, and I had a boyfriend, and it was considered, I had shared something with the youth leader, And the youth leader decided to use me as an example for all the other. And I'm like, I looked at him and I kind of gave him a F you. Really? Here's an
breach of
example.
confidence there. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him. So at that moment, I remember I kind of gave him my what fors and my what hows and like could care less and looked at everybody else. And I thought to myself, I'm out. But I remember that moment, and it's in community, but that judgment and that thing. And, that was a pretty radical moment. But religion, even though it brought community, there is also that judgment factor. And I think that was so ingrained in me to judge things. And so I think that judgment's been one of the things that I challenge with the most, because I'm constantly a judgy person.
Expelled from Catholic. I was kicked out of Sunday school in the 4th grade because I couldn't get off the fact that dinosaurs weren't included in the Bible.
Oh shit, I like that.
That was a big one. I'm like, why aren't dinosaurs in the Bible? If this is true, well, it's just true. Just believe it. And my brother, who's older than me and was very religious, said, well, dinosaurs, God put dinosaur bones to challenge you, to challenge your faith. And I just remember thinking, that's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. I'm going to see my brother in May for the first time in years. I'm going to have to ask him if he remembers that. I remember all the stuff that my siblings never remember, though.
I think that's pretty cute.
I can't tell you what I had for lunch today, but I can remember what happened in 1984 for sure.
Well, I really dig that. I can tell you what happened in 1984 too, apparently. Well, no, that would have been 1986. Funny how these things stick in our mind. But the thing about it is that I knew then that that wasn't the way, that wasn't it. That wasn't it for me. And I think I've been on this journey my whole life. And here I am, also 55, realizing that, I've been on this thing of searching rather than slowing down and being. And that's a thing, I think a big thing Taya teaches is that part of being present, of being here and just being part of life and breathing and in and out. And with a house fire, with the last surgery I had, with all the stuff that's transpired, our mortality plus turning 55, the mortality bug is up there going zip, 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 zip. And you're like, yeah, I know, I see you. And all it's done for me is, you know what I go out and do? Let me talk about practice. And I see we have a great question, but I have swing sets on my property. And I like to go out and that's what I'll do. Every single day now I'm getting up and I've got tires outside, way out there. I swing and I go out and I bounce and I jump on tires and I'm like just being present. Of course, it's also not so cold that I feel like I'm going to like crack in half because I'm frozen, no matter how much I layer. Death is not inevitable. It's a habit. Okay. That's an interesting thought. Okay. We could dive into that. But yeah, my practice is I go out. And so there's this weird thing that happens. I look at these mountains and I breathe in deeply. And I embrace being there in that moment, period. Nothing else, nothing more. That is also very expansive for me if I can do that and I'm pissed off when I start. But finding those practices are key to, but that's one of my non-thought activity. Swinging is really no thought, I promise you.
Yeah. Low thought activity is a great way to raise your vibration without having to go into a quiet meditative place, for sure. And a lot of times if you're really down your spiral, you can't just sit and meditate in that state because your vibe just isn't going to allow it. So low thought activity is a great way to kind of get into it.
Yeah, it really is. And I really loved it. I see Lewis has a question about, do you think religion is just a brainwashing that's prevented us to be united as a whole? Well,
yeah, I think the Matrix is that. I think the creation of the collective ego of humanity created what I call the Matrix.
Yeah.
And I believe the Matrix function is to lower our vibration down to a level that is not down at the bottom. I don't think the Matrix is looking to end humanity. I think the Matrix is seeking to make humanity compliant and functional and productive beings in service of the Matrix and in service of the leaders of the Matrix, the leaders of the church, the leaders of the finance, whatever you, however you want to refer to those folks, that having people operate in a little bit lower vibration with a little bit of want and a little bit of need and a little bit of anxiety creates commerce and creates compliant citizens. And that is it's not a cabal of evil people that sit around a table deciding what the earth's I don't believe in that. I think it's a vibration. I think it's a vibration. Well, there are people that think that. They think that the Rothschilds and who is the one everybody likes to jump on, the Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, and all these people are getting together and they're sacrificing who knows what, and they're sitting around a big table and deciding what there may be some smaller versions of that going on. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's beliefs, but there are people that think that. I think it's a vibration. I think it's a human created vibration. I believe in pyramids of thought. I believe that there are thoughts at the top of the pyramid that are rare. And I think there's everything else below that, all the way down to the base of the pyramid, that are people that feel like they're complete victims of the system, right? And we see that in our financial system. We see that in our health system. Any topic, you can create a pyramid where you have a few people at the top and a whole lot more people at the bottom. And what creates the middle of the pyramid, is like the middle class, is the matrix. The matrix is saying, we're going to put you in the system where we're going to tell you what you're supposed to be. And if you're not that, you're going to go to hell. And we're going to tell you where you're supposed to work and who you're supposed to produce for, how you're going to go about doing that, how you're going to be educated, how you're going to save and invest your money. And we're going to create this template for you to live your lives.
Yeah.
And it serves people that choose to give that power. And that's the matrix. And there's positive and negative on every topic in our world. We're in a polarized environment. So yes, there are positive aspects to that matrix, but they're negative. And now that we're wising up to it, and our means of communication are allowing us to wise up to it, we are creating disruption to it. It's crumbling. And what is it doing? It wants to come back stronger. Did I think in 2023 I would have states worrying about banning drag queens?
What the dude?
Yeah,
For real. I mean, no,
the gay marriage in 2008, and it's, the world didn't stop turning after that all these years later. And then all of a sudden, you have state governors getting reelected and running on things like, we're going to ban drag queens. And it's just like the craziest thing. That stuff keeps coming back around, though, because they want to assert more control. They want more people afraid. They want you angry and afraid. And I'm not trying to spin the conspiracy theory. I'm trying to just recognize that that's what the matrix is. You can recognize that, however, without judging it, meaning labeling it as this shouldn't be happening. It's wrong. It's evil. Because when you start giving that kind of attention to something, you're actually helping it. You're fueling it. So I don't believe in that. I believe in observing. I love clarity, but I don't believe in going into the demonization of this stuff. That's why I say, even though most religion would say that who I am is wrong, A, I shouldn't be a gay man. B, I sure as hell shouldn't be channeling or disrupting religious beliefs or giving people tools that allows them to move beyond fear and judgment. I would be wrong to them, but they're not wrong to me. I appreciate them for exactly who and what they are. And that includes people that are fearful of drag queens. I just think it's kind of entertaining because I can tell you, I have been to lots of drag shows. I live in Palm Springs, California. There is a drag show every night of the week in Palm Springs, California of some sort. When I first moved here, I went at least once a week to a drag show. There was nothing damaging about any of it. And certainly, most of them are not an environment you would take a child to, but they're not stripping. Somebody was referring to as a drag strip show. I'm like, the last thing I want to see is a drag queen strip. It's all about putting on stuff, not taking off, but the demonization of a group of people to instill fear and anger and all, let's get them fighting each other. And as long as they're fighting each other, then they're going to be at a lower vibration. They'll be productive, but they're going to be compliant and they're going to be drivers of commerce because whatever their belief system is going to keep them funneling money and energy and attention to whatever our cause is. That's what the matrix does. So once we understand it, then it's easier to appreciate it.
Well said. I'd like to address it. Man, David, tell ya, you brought up a one that is a subject between, back in the day, African Americans had no rights. Women could not vote. Do you understand? Being gay, if you were gay and you were in the military, they'd kick you out or shoot you. One of the two were going to happen. Okay. Society, and we have been, if we're taught a belief system, all of a sudden we believe it. The freaking KKK children, they were taught that it's okay to hang people because they were a different skin color. And we want to think that this shit is right or wrong, and I'm judging it. But when we really sit back and we look at it, it's all about belief systems. This is where this belief system, we get to choose. We get to see it in a different light, in a different thing. Now it's not against the African American. Now it's against the homosexuality. It's against transsexual. Especially transsexual. Have you seen what they're doing to trans? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's crazy. So the fact of the matter is that this is about patriarchy. Who somebody put the word patriarchy in here, unplugging patriarchy. This patriarchal society that we were built on back 200 and some odd freaking years ago was built by men who belittled women and who had blacks as slaves. And we're still going by that shit. Jesus criminy. Joe Rogan has the best thing ever. He says, you know what? Like what Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, I'd be like, y'all haven't changed that yet? We wrote that with a feather. What's up? So the patriarchal society and the teachings and the whatnot that we were all taught, and back east, I'm sorry, I'm from back west, we just seem to be more open because this isn't a reality for us. But back in Florida,
I grew up in Minden, Louisiana, where the KKK marched around. I've seen Klans people firsthand outside my car window with the hood. I've actually been to their church.
Get out.
I have been to a Klan church, a Baptist church that turned out to be the KKK in my town. And so I have understanding of that mindset. It's very matrix. It's very, very matrix for sure. And it's very separatist. It's very much lowering of anybody's vibration, because when you believe that who and what you are is right and everyone else is wrong, you have disconnected yourself from source, because source is appreciation of all that is.
Yeah.
Period. No judgment, no fear, simple, pure appreciation of all that is. When I channel, whether I'm doing it in a trance or doing it now when information is just flowing, it doesn't matter. I have a very clear vibrational connection to appreciation of all that is. That's what that is. And it's part of everything. It's in all of us. But the matrix seeks to separate us from that through division, through judgment, through fear. The tricky thing is, if I don't get any other point across tonight, and this is a big part of our Taya practice, the tricky thing is that when you go into the judgment of the matrix, you are right back in it.
Yeah, I know. That's a real kick.
That labeling that stuff, the patriarchy should not be. You're giving it power. You really are giving it power. So deep understanding breeds authentic appreciation. When you can look at something, and you learn this in boot camp, when you look at something that you demonize, and instead of demonizing it, seek to see it through the eyes of source, meaning that you are going to authentically appreciate it through deep understanding of it. When you do that, you detune it. And when I say detune it, you are taking the power away from it. And you're raising your vibration. And you are a far more powerful creator in high vibration than you are in lower. When you're in low vibration, you're creating, but you're creating your house burning down. You're creating your next illness. You're creating your next financial spin out. It's okay that we're doing that. That's why it exists. But understand the difference between creation in low vibration and creation in high. The creation in high is love, is abundance, is appreciation of all that is. So judging the matrix falls somewhere really in the middle of all that stuff, if not a little bit lower, and you are fueling it when you do that. So that's what we're doing, is we are collectively starting to climb out of this matrix and look back at it and see it for what it is, and don't fall for the trick of demonizing it, because then you get pulled right back into it. It's, I appreciate the matrix. I appreciate that we have this history of injustice, because now I understand that we can have something else, because we have that platform. The Holocaust is a fantastic platform.
Isn't it though?
because because you can look at the Holocaust and we can all say never again. We are never going to allow anything like that again. And when I see a governor trying to demonize a group of people and say that it's illegal to be you, and think of how insane that is. That who says that a man is not allowed to put on a wig and makeup and high heels and a dress? Who cares? Who cares?
I
go back to biblical times. That's probably from what the way they're depicted.
Did you see the wigs they used to? Dude, did you see the wigs they used to wear?
Yeah.
Oh
so
my God.
that's just this human construct of what male and female is supposed to be. It creates division. It divides people. It lowers their vibration, and it's easy to demonize that stuff. But I think the mass fear demonization of it fuels it. It's not solving it because it keeps happening, right? The key is understanding the fear that creates that division and the fear that drives those politics, and appreciate where they are and thus detune that energy and that vibration. And that will solve any and every problem that we have. Solving problems on a human scale is one thing, where your responsibility, and we're going to go back to accountability and discipline, which was our topic of the night, is using that mindset to solve the things in your own life.
Yeah.
And certainly as a contributor to all that is, because your vibration creates the vibration of humanity. It contributes to it, certainly contributes to the vibration of the earth environment, contributes to the vibration of the entire universe. It does. So what you do is your part radiating out into infinity. And when you create a vibration of authentic appreciation, all that negative stuff that you don't want to be becomes detuned. You're not giving it any power because you're not demonizing it. You're not criticizing it. You're appreciating it through understanding, and it just dissipates. And it will happen in your life. It's a lot easier to see it happen in your life. But if humanity moves toward, because I think it's inevitable, when we move toward a mindset of detuning through authentic appreciation, a lot of these big problems will start to solve, not be solved by us or solve themselves, just solve.
I want to really touch on this. I really do, because as I mentioned in the beginning of this, I was not well, and I found out. I manifested a great little illness apparently I'd had for years. It changed and altered everything about me. It altered my ability to cope. It altered everything. I had so much calcium pumping through my veins. It was eating my bones, like literally. And I had a lot going on, and it affected my mental health. I got into some toxic habits. I've been through Taya. I've been through all this. I couldn't Taya let me tell you something. Right before that surgery in November, I couldn't have Taya if I wanted to. I got to give Joe some kudos for actually living through that, because I don't know who I was, but we'll talk about it more in depth at another time, but I'm going to tell you, it was amazing how grateful I am today that I have got in my ability to think, the ability to use my tools. But I'm going to tell you about these habits. What fires together, wires together, what fires together and what wires together. And even if I was sick, it was firing together and started wiring together. I've had to consciously and intentionally make a decision to make choices to appreciate everything. And what if you find difficulty in appreciating something? I'm going to tell you what happens when you find difficulty. Appreciate the difficulty and appreciating it.
You detune the difficulty. You're right. The appreciation is the key to everything, including detuning appreciation.
But I'm going to tell you all that, like, I'm truly deeply, deeply grateful to be able to know that I can take my Taya tools, make a conscious choice and a decision to do something differently, and come back to source and observe with the eyes of source. All those things that we learn and
come back leveled up. Really, you're describing a spin out, and a spin out is part of Taya. Falling off the wagon, getting off your practice. Because what happens is Taya is just like taking a drug. When you take some drug that makes you feel better, or maybe keeps you from getting depressed or whatever. After a while, you've solved the problem with the drug, and you think you no longer need the drug.
Yeah.
And you stop taking it, and then the problem can come back. We call that vibrational dust. Well, in the practice of Taya, we anticipate that we're going to fall off the wagon. We're going to spin out. We're going to take note of our spin out, and honor it, because really it's leveling us up. And then we get right back into our practice. And then when you get back into the practice is when you get to experience and realize the up leveling. And I have yet to find a ceiling. I've been practicing this stuff for almost 15 years now, and there's not a ceiling. You
There's no
don't
ceiling.
reach a state of enlightenment and you're done. There's just
No.
no such thing. But you do keep going higher and higher and higher. And I every time I get to a level where I think I have all this supreme clarity that, oh my gosh, I've got it all, I'll show myself that I don't. And then I'll level up and realize, gosh, there was this whole other level available.
Oh, well, okay. So I want you to think about a video game, y'all. Have you ever played a video game ever? There's always a next level. There's always this thing, this challenge, this resolution that you have to have before you can go to the next level. I did not come back. The Debbie G I left in last August, September, when I stopped doing shows. I am not that same person. I am that same person, but I know I don't know anything except that if you don't appreciate and accept where life is at right now, then it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And I know this because I'm telling you, I whined like a baby over the fact that I was freezing all winter. Okay. But I was also going through this massive healing the whole time. It has just been so interesting to now use my tools and step and observe from source now, David, and look at myself with compassion. Say, wow, give myself some compassion and some kudos. Because not only did I get through it, but there is no ceiling, like you said, and it's back stronger. And it just is. That's it. There is nothing else with it. It just is. It's perfectly fine to express emotion. Oh, yeah, energy and motion. As long as the energy and motion is control. Look, my emotions I was having back when I was sick were out of this world. Like, I don't even know who I was. I was a psycho bitch. I couldn't stand myself. And I'm not judging me, David. I'm not I'm not harsh on myself. I'm telling you guys, I was so not me. It was like, who is this person? Where did she come from?
But the cool thing is when you create that, you're creating this little side experience for yourself where you are altering yourself in some way. I did that.
But I had no control.
When I was taking steroids, I was not myself.
Oh, were you a total butthead?
Oh, I think you knew me when I first moved to Palm Springs.
I know you were doing it, but you were never. Yeah, I remember all that. You were like hot.
Well, I mean, I think anybody would consider
so hot. Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
You should go back to taking steroids. You were so hot back then. But I have heard that. Actually, I have heard that. I won't go back to it because it altered my personality. But you know what it did for me, other than a great body, is it created this alternate personality. I was not myself during that time, and I love that I had that whole experience. I wouldn't go back and do it. I mean, I don't look at things with regret. I wouldn't repeat it, but I wouldn't go back and change it, because everything that I've experienced, being 300 pounds in my 30s and having bad relationships and, crappy jobs and, stuck making too much money to get out of a job that I hated. I've had all those experiences, and I love that I had all those experiences.
Yeah.
Because all of them now I appreciate them. That made me a more sophisticated version of me, and it created sophistication for my eternal being, which is what we're all doing here. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. So every little spin out, every little thing that you create for yourself has enormous value. And as you move yourself out of it, you will realize the benefit of it. That clarity will come. And then you'll realize, holy shit, that really leveled me up. And here I am appreciating on a higher level than ever, more clarity than ever, and realizing that, life is just a series of twists and turns, and that's what we're here for.
That is what we're here for. 100%.
Well, and it's the end of Claim Your Power Hour. We're at the hour mark. I do want to thank everybody. I want to especially thank Debbie for showing up, because I love that we're back together, at least for this event. I know we're probably not going to do this every week, but I just have so much fun with you, and you're just such a delight. And I love witnessing your journey and all the great folks that are coming on and commenting, and I'm reading all the comments, even if we're not reading them all out loud. I'm noticing all of them. So thank you all for joining and participating. So we do this every Thursday night at 4 p.m. Pacific. All the places that you see us now will be on every week. Debbie will be on some. I'll have some other co-hosts some of the time. And I want to let all of you know too that I have 2 podcasts now. We have the Stream of David podcast, and we have the Taya Practice podcast launching, I believe, next week. I always say next week, and then I say next week after that because everything always takes longer. Well, the week zips by.
It does.
And I realized, wow, it's Friday tomorrow, and we haven't done all the things we need to do to set it up yet. So next week, hopefully, the Taya Practice podcast will be up. We've already recorded 2. They're fantastic. The Stream of David will live on as me sharing source consciousness on any and every topic. We'll probably go more into current events on there and less about Taya, because now we have the companion podcast that is about Taya, which is the practice of trusting your abundance. It's the practical application of what the stream has been teaching us for all these years. So there you go. Be sure to subscribe to the Stream of David and the Taya Practice podcast. And Debbie, what have you got going on? What have you got going on?
What do I have going on? Well, I don't know yet, y'all. I'm going to be straight. I know that I have been called to get back online, to get back in the saddle again of gratitude and sharing how to get in it.
I miss Capagrata.
Capagrata.
Just saying. And spirituality gone wild is still a thing. It's still a thing.
It's still a thing. I will tell you all this. Right now I'm working on my studio. It's upstairs, and I am coming back. David, this is the first time I've been on live in like a couple of months. I haven't even been doing LOA today. And I want to appreciate everybody who's here right now who's saying that David and I are a great duo. I have to agree with you, because you guys just don't know how much I truly, deeply celebrate David for all that he has brought to this world, and how much I celebrate him. He has a deeply as a friend too. I lucked out. I got to meet him in person. I mean, first to start off, period. Like,
yeah, we actually met in person. We didn't know each other. We met in person in Palm Springs.
Yeah, it totally just rock star. Like, I looked across the room and saw him, and it was just boom. I can't explain how awesome it was. And, David and Josie Herndon where all of our birthdays are right in a little circle there. And we were all at this dinner, and I cannot tell you it was like floating on a cloud the whole time. Did you feel that, David? Did you just feel that high?
It was a great experience. And again, we started out here, but I'll end it. And I love how much Michael loves you. We know lots of people, and we do lots of things, and he doesn't respond to anyone the way that he responds to you. So you two have something special going on as well.
I love him. He's just like, oh God, you guys, you're lucky.
So let me know, Deb. We'll have you on the both podcasts. We'll have my Patreon lives. I mean, I record about 6 things a week now, and I love it. I love that I'm back in it, because before I was doing, I think, 1 or 2 things a week, and that was it. I was literally working 1 or 2 hours a week all last year, and dabbling in the book a little bit. The book is happening. This is the Taya Practice book. This is not a real cover. This is a copy, though, that we've printed so that we can read through it the way that you would read a book. It's ready to go, but we just have to get it published. So, and we're publishing it. So we're the only ones holding ourselves back. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for taking this time. Thanks for letting us go 4 minutes over. And Debbie, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being on.
Love you guys.
See you all soon.